Here at the Fantasy Frendzone. I'm your host for the day, Bryce. Let's get to it. We got some mock drafts today. We're going full PPR, 12 team, and I figure we go like middle-ish rounds. We go like a or like middle position. So let's go like just go right dab in the middle. Let's go like 6 or 7. Let's just go 7. And we're going two receivers, two RBs, but we're going two flex today. And screw the kickers. We don't care. And let's get to it. All right, so obviously full PPR means that we're leaning heavier towards pass catching backs and running backs and obviously like receivers as well. Okay, Fantasy Pros is lagging a little bit. Let's see what happens. And there we go. Okay, so we got Thomas, Kamara, Henry all going before us. All right, so this is going to be a decision point right here. Basically, we're deciding between Dalvin Cook and Clyde. Yeah, Devontae's still there, but we're still leaning running back. Oh boy, people aren't gonna like this, but there's like two key principles of fantasy football that I like to abide by because, I mean, it's what good fantasy players do. And the first 4 to 5 rounds, you play it safe. You do not need those guys busting. And Dalvin Cook has a very clear path to busting with any type of injury or, yeah, just with an injury. I don't think contract negotiations are really going to be a problem at all. Yeah, it's really just the injury. I didn't touch up last year because he's got some pretty bad knees, but I mean, it paid off for people because he got a lot of people into the fantasy playoffs. But I'm just not at that point where I'm willing to invest my first round pick in such an injury prone guy. I'm going with Clyde. He's going to catch a lot of balls from Mahomes. It's going to be I mean, he could easily have double digit touchdowns. Yes, Dalvin Cook could win you your league, but I really don't want to lose my league by not having a first round pick. All right, now we're in the second round. Let's see who we got. There's a bit of a drop off at running back. I think there's a pretty clear pick here. Yeah, I mean Travis Kelce is there, but I'm going to Julio. This isn't even really that close. Running backs, just not a fan of who's left right now. Yeah, a lot of running backs wins. Really just like Carson, then Connor, and then just like everybody else. Yeah, we'll go Julio. Julio, get on this team. All right. I had Kelce, Mahomes, DJ Moore, Evans. We had a lot of people go. Right there. All right. And miraculously, Chris Carson is still there. Let's see. This does make things a bit difficult for us because we're staring at Odell right there. Yeah, he has the obvious risk of playing with like such a crappy quarterback in Baker. The team should be better this year. Probably won't be throwing the ball as much with like such a run heavy oriented coach and Kevin Stefanski coming from Minnesota. But you got to believe that the injury is really what held him back last year. I mean, you have Matt Harvin's reception perception, where basically he ranks like 98th and higher in almost every category up until last year, where he ranked in like the low 40s or something like that. And you have to believe that it was because of the groin. He probably shouldn't even been playing on that. Regardless, I do think there's a lot of depth at receiver right here, and I'm probably leaning Chris Carson. I just think it's run-heavy offense. He will catch a few balls. There's just not a lot of competition behind him. Yeah, Lev will probably catch a few more balls, and so will David Johnson. But I just think that Carson is the better running back in the better situation. Especially, yeah, the best situation out of any of these guys, essentially. Maybe besides Jonathan Taylor, but you got Marlon Mack there. So, yeah, going Chris Carson right here. All right, ton of receivers go. Alrighty, and so actually still a lot of good running backs on the board. Say this is quite a bit of good value where we're at right now. Let's see, at receive, I think I'm leaning receiver though, even though we do have a lot of, let's see where we're at on the draft board. Quite a few picks, okay. Who went right for us? Okay, Calvin really right for us. Wouldn't really mattered because we already had Julio. Was semi-hoping Robert Woods would make it back, or like Juju, but no. Okay. So we're looking at 2 RBs and a receiver. I think we can go either way, really, running back or receiver here. I just think that there's so much more like bust potential for these running backs that I'd rather get almost like the much more guaranteed production of one of these receivers, and that's why I'm heavily leaning. Yeah, I think I'm going McLaurin. I think this is between like McLaurin, Chark, Brown, and Tyler Lockett. I mean, you can throw in like Metcalf and Sutton in there too, but let's see. But Lockett and Metcalf will like eat into each other's production just a bit. You gotta run heavy offense in Tennessee, in which A.J. Brown put up like otherworldly yak numbers last year, like yards after the catch. And we're just not sure if that's going to hold up this upcoming year. I mean, it's probably not, because that would basically mean that he's like one of the best receivers of all time. And funny, because Jonnu Smith actually put up a lot of good yards after the catch numbers as well. But I think there is still major bust potential with A.J. Brown. It's something I'm not really seeing with Chark or McLaurin. And we're going McLaurin here. All right, and for some reason, Jonathan Taylor is still there. Wow. Yeah, I mean, at this point, this is a pretty simple pick. Yeah, 12 teams, full PPR. Man, yeah, he's not going to be catching a lot of balls. That is for certain. So that's a good reason. Yeah, probably the biggest reason why he's still there. My only argument, though, is that this is like a pure upside pick. And if he were to win out on the workload, it almost is not going to matter that he's not getting that much work in the passing game, because he's going to be running behind one of the best offensive lines in football. So if he can win out that job, he's gonna do wonders for the Colts. I am perfectly okay with this pick. I do think there's some wide receivers to have right here, but there's a lot of them that are like in similar tiers. Like I definitely put. I don't see myself ever really drafting T.Y. Hilton right now. Not really Diggs either. AJ Green, a little injury prone. Jarvis Landry currently battling a small injury. Love Gallup here. Fan of taking Edelman and Brown as well as Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks. Yep, I think there's just a lot of guys I'd be fine with taking there. Just not right now, because at least one or two of them will make it back to me with the next pick. Jonathan Taylor it is. You just saw that. He's struggling with drops in camp. Not that big of a deal, though. All right. For some reason, does that say Kareem Hunt is still on the board? I believe it does say that. Wow. Kareem Hunt is still on the board. Kareem Hunt and Cam Akers. Okay, this is getting interesting because Hunt's going to be used in the passing game. So one thing I would note is that I don't think that people quite understand the effect that Hunt has on Chubb. Now, this isn't necessarily to knock. Actually, this argument is to do the reverse for Chubb. Actually, it's to hype him more. Um, his rushing stats didn't go down that much when Hunt came in. Neither did his goal line. The problem was more that it wasn't really his volume that was a problem. It was more just the Browns' efficiency, and it was just very, very unlucky what happened to him on the goal line. Like Kareem Hunt still only had 2 or 3 carries inside the 5 and 10, and Chubb had the third most in the league. He had top 4 easy, most red zone and 5 and 10 touches in the league, and he just couldn't convert. So I think that there's a lot of potential for Chubb to have a huge season this year once again, and to even if he just bounces in on a couple more of those touchdowns, he's going earlier in drafts. Regardless, if he goes down with injury, Kareem Hunt becomes top 4 running back in football, without a doubt. That offensive line in Cleveland is vastly improved, adding Jack Conklin, some draft picks, some more offseason transactions, and Kevin Stefanski is never going to help and never going to hurt. Never going to hurt your running game. Getting Kitchens out of there is the best thing they could have done. All right, really liking our upside right now because if either one of those picks between Taylor and Hunt or Hunt pay off, you only need both of them. Just one of them need to pay off. You're in the driver's seat. You're in the driver's seat straight to your fantasy playoffs and possibly more. And Kareem Hunt, he'd be standalone value, RB2, especially in a PPR format. Okay, we're still not looking quarterback. Tight end we can take a peek at, but I think it's still too early. Yeah, it's only round 7. Recommend looking there around round 8 or 9, possibly even later. I think we will go a good amount later in this draft so we can hammer out the depth at other positions. Cam Akers still there in the 7th is very interesting. I think this is usually a pick that I would like to make, but I see a lot of value in grabbing Brandon Cooks or Christian Kirk. Maybe not so much Christian Kirk right now. Probably Brandon Cooks, because I do think there's a drop-off after Cooks. Yeah, a lot of wide receivers have been going. We do have a lot of depth at running back already, and we wouldn't mind adding, like a James White, a Breida, J.K. Dobbins, Zach Moss, in later rounds to get for our RB5. So I think I'm leaning Brandon Cooks. If you watch one of our recent Twitter videos, we mentioned that Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks. Take one of them in your drafts, people. Take one of them in your drafts. This dude's a former wide receiver 1. I think it's 2016 and 2017. He finished low-end wide receiver 1. And then in those other years, 2015, 2018, he's finishing as a high-end wide receiver 2. And then last year was obviously just an abomination of a year for him, just battling injury. Rams weren't playing that well. Brandon Cooks wasn't playing that well. Just overall, just not a good year. All right, we're already in round 8 now. David Montgomery's still there. We do not like drafting injured players, but this is around the time when you have to start asking yourself if it's okay to draft an injured guy if you know that when he comes back and he's going to be playing, he's getting the majority of the carries. No, I just don't think it is. He wasn't that efficient last year, and I did see him taking a step up this year, but with him battling the injury, this makes it almost impossible to draft him right now. Maybe if he drops in right to round 9, but I just don't feel like taking a waste on a pick right there. I see plenty of upside with some of these other players right here, and upside is just what I'm going to go for. Yeah, Breida's probably going to get more guaranteed workload, a little more work in the passing game, but J.K. Dobbins is just a very capable running back. yeah, making highlights in camp. We got league winners here. We got league winners in Jonathan Taylor. We got league winners in Kareem Hunt. League winner in J.K. Dobbins. I think Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins have slightly more clear paths to being league winners because Kareem Hunt is literally just an injury versus J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Taylor are the most capable back in their backfield in very good run heavy offenses with good offensive lines and for J.K. Dobbins' case, the best rushing quarterback in football. Yeah, just league winning potential. Just love it. The more you can add that to your team late in drafts, just keep it adding up, keep it stacking up. One of them's going to hit, and they're going to take you places. All right. We are at the 9th round. Anthony Miller's still on the board. Shame Jalen Reagor's battling injury right now. Still got McCole Hardman. Not as much value, this being full PPR. Same can be said for guys like Curtis Samuel and Brashad Perriman. Do you see Curtis Samuel taking a step up this year, though? Teddy Bridgewater's a more than capable quarterback at throwing the deep ball. I won't say he hasn't had a lot of opportunity doing it, but when he has, he's excelled, and that'll be a definite improvement over what Carolina's had in the past, or last year rather. Got our 3 receivers, starting 2 in the flex. I think I'm okay grabbing another running back, and I know we've done this a few times in drafts. Oh man, Jordan Howard's funny. I think Breed is going to get more of the catches. Jordan Howard's just super unfortunate. He's been in like decent situations. Eagles is the best situation. He did well when he played. Just the injury, just like really a shame. He doesn't get credit for what he does. He's a very solid running back, and I hope things work out for him in Miami. But I don't envision him being a guy that I am putting in my lineup and feeling very confident about. Yeah, it'd have to be like Miami's winning more than their estimated like 6 games by Vegas in order to feel more confident about that. And Breida would have to get injured, which to be honest isn't out of this world. I think it can be crazy odds against that. I'm sure Breida will miss like a guaranteed 2 games this year just from a random ankle injury. Yeah, I think we're going Zach Moss here. He's going to be catching passes. He's going to be getting goal line carries. Let's get it. Anthony Miller goes. A shame. Got Jerry Jeudy. Golden Tate still there. Okay. Got a little worried that Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard will eat into each other's production because they kind of they're both like slot guys. They excel in running their routes underneath coverage in the middle of the field. Yeah, I just don't see that much upside with the Golden Tate pick. So we can probably steer away from that right now. We're in the 10th round. Let's take a quick look at tight ends. Really the only one we were looking at was Hayden Hurst right now. Because he's gone, we have plenty of guys back here that we would like to take. We got Gesicki, all right with Hawkinson, Fant, Love, Jonnu Smith. I like him. Same with Jarwin and Herndon. Even like Irv Smith Jr. Ian Thomas used to be on this list as well, but you don't like to hear bad news coming out of camp on how players are doing. Usually it's more that you don't want to put too much weight into how good players are doing in camp because it's a lot of coach talk and coach speak, and you just don't want to just buy into that. You want to do your research besides that, and not weight those types of conversations too heavily. But when you're hearing bad news about their production in camp, they're underwhelming, that should sound some sort of alarms. And I don't know why that's the case for Ian Thomas, but it is. So kind of veering away from him as a late round sleeper as well right now. All right. Okay, so running backs were pretty solid. We got 6 guys that we're pretty stoked about. I don't really see the need to go running back right here. Um, the only need, actually, this is full PPR. I'm very tempted to take. Wow, if we didn't have Jonathan Taylor, yeah, we would have taken Naheem Hines in a heartbeat. But definitely don't want both of them. They're just going to eat into each other's production. Definitely don't need any of that. No, this is full PPR. I'm going to change things up a little bit. I'm okay with Golden Tate. Let's just take a quick look, actually. Oh man, 2019 production is not great. I just don't know how much of a step up that he can possibly take. Yeah, we can't just switch it up for no reason. Okay, we have to go for upside here. We're this late in the draft. We're far past round 5. This is just upside, and the upside pick here, it has to be McCole Hardman. It's him or Deshaun Jackson. Actually, I take it back, and I actually don't agree with these rankings. Deshaun Jackson's the pick. You finally have, well, I can't even say the Eagles are fully healthy because you have like Carson Wentz battling like a lower body injury. I'm sure he'll be fine, just not great to hear. You have Miles Sanders battling a lower body injury. You have Alshon Jeffrey like never healthy, and you have Jalen Reagor out a few weeks with what I believe is a shoulder injury. Man, just not very friendly right now to the Eagles. But if there's one guy that you want on this Eagles receiving, out of their receiving core, as of right now, because of all the injuries, it's Deshaun Jackson. Obviously Zach Ertz, but we're talking about strictly wide receivers. All right. 11th round, we still got Chris Thompson, Chase Edmonds, and Damian Harris all still on the board. There's no reason to take a quarterback right now. You got plenty to go. We're fine with just about anybody in this 11 to 26 range. It's just, the position's way too deep. Let's try to speed this up a little bit, though. Would be fine with any of these tight ends, really. I think Goddard's battling an injury, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we can maybe avoid him for now. I don't really see the need to. I guess I can see Jack Doyle having a good year. Phillip Rivers loves throwing to his tight ends, but I just see a lot more upside for a lot of these other guys. So we can wait on both of those positions still because you got plenty of depth there, and we're really just stacking up on running backs and receivers. I really like where our receivers are, actually. So this could be Hardman, but just why not take a guy like, why not take a guy like Chris Thompson? Like we said before, we don't know who the guy in Jacksonville is going to be, and we know that they loved throwing to the running back last year. Fournette had himself a season, not necessarily a productive one, or I'll say efficient one, but he got a lot of volume, especially in the passing game. And I think Chris Thompson, I know, is going to be much more productive with whatever touches that he does get in the backfield. It's obviously just a question of his health. So I am perfectly okay with this pick because a lot of these other picks, like Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt, who was our other running back? J.K. Dobbins. There are picks that have much more potential as the season goes on, but Chris Thompson should be used like day one, like right from the get-go. You ever recall Armstead that's like kind of battling injury and hasn't been playing a lot, and they've been raving about Chris Thompson in camp, and I'm going to tell you, dude, anytime he's on the field, he plays well. So honestly, even just to start the season, Chris Thompson might even be in the starting lineup in one of these flex spots. Be a little matchup dependent, but real excited about his prospects for the upcoming season. All right, we still got Damian Harris on the board. We only got one bench spot left. We still got plenty of quarterbacks. Jeez, it's just positioned so deep. All right, so the tight ends are starting to thin out just a little bit. So there's a definite tier separation here, and I definitely have Hawkinson and Fant a tier ahead of Jonnu Smith, and then like a tier below that is like kind of like Blake Jarwin and Chris Herndon. Not saying that Goddard and Doyle aren't in those tiers. It's more just like those other guys are part of a target list that we have at the Fantasy Friend Zone. I think we've all seen that TJ Hawkinson what he can do essentially. Like week 1 last year, he went for what, like 100 and something yards and like 2 TDs. Like he was a beast. He's out jumping like multiple players. He's just like bigger than the safeties, and he has like a lot of size. It's just that he's battling ankle injury, and it bothered him so much that he wasn't even that healthy like 2 months ago in the off season. So you know the extent of like how poor it was. He's supposed to be like fully healthy now. He's looking good in camp, and I'd be very excited about drafting him or Noah Fant. I just think I'd be more stoked about the quarterback situation with the Lions because you kind of have Kenny G, Marvin Jones, and then TJ. Not really worried about anybody like in the slot. I think like Amendola would still be working from the slot. Not really worried about that at all. And yeah, I mean, Stafford was on pace for like 5,000 yards and like 30 plus touchdowns last year. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't putting up similar numbers this year if he's able to play all 16 games. The whole injury concern with him is just, it shouldn't be there. The doctors have already come, medical doctors and sports doctors have already come out. I guess not they are medical, but sports doctors have come out and said that he shouldn't be considered injury prone. He's more just like unlucky, very similar to like a Keenan Allen type of deal like a year or two ago when he was out because he had like he broke his collarbone. He had some knee problems, and then there was also like a kidney laceration, and you had like reporters and labeling him as like injury prone, but that just like wasn't accurate. Even ESPN analysts like Stefania Bell would talk about Keenan Allen and just say like he's really just been very unlucky, and I think she's very accurate with that. And medical doctors have been saying similar things about T.J. Hawkinson. Sorry, about Matt Stafford. So this pick is either Hawkinson or Edmonds or Harris. There are some receivers too, but we have quite a bit of running backs. We got a lot of depth there. We're hitting with the tight end that we want. I mean, would have been perfectly happy with Noah Fant or any of those other 3 tight ends, to be honest. But I think Hawkinson has a ceiling that not many of those other tight ends have. All right, this is taking quite a bit. There we go. Cool. Okay, still got one more bench spot, QB and defense. All right. I'm not really worried about the wide receiver position. You can always find receivers in a full PPR format on the waivers. I mean, you're gonna have guys like, I don't know, John Ross, Mo Sanu, Steve Sims, Cole Beasley, Randall Cobb. Like those guys are possibly going to be like waiver wire free agents in the fantasy season. I'm perfectly happy with acquiring one of those guys if one of my receivers goes down, or if Brandon Cooks gets a couple more concussions, or if Deshaun Jackson pulls like an ab muscle. So don't really think we got to do anything with that. I will say, taking a guy like Joshua Kelly or AMC. AMC, we like know his role. Anthony McFarland. He's like a fast dude out of, I believe, Maryland. Watch his tape, and you see when he's healthy, the dude can move. It's just we don't know how much playing time he's going to get with Pittsburgh. It's not necessarily that he's not talented. It's just everybody, like every year, there's this rumor around Pittsburgh that there's going to be a running back committee, and every year there never ends up being one. Now this year more than any, it seems like there should be one, but for some reason you just feel like, well, history is probably going to repeat itself because when was the last time they had a running back committee? It's like you have to go back just so many years ago. Like I genuinely can't remember the last time they had any sort of committee whatsoever. I'm sure James Conner will be on the field a shit ton. So I think I actually like the prospects of like a Joshua Kelly pick. You have like Justin Jackson who's battling like pretty significant injury right now, and you see right here might have the edge for number 2 duties. But yeah, it seems like if Austin Eckler were to possibly go down, Joshua Kelly is leading this backfield. I don't think Justin Jackson is really all that good, and he plays a very similar role as Austin Eckler. So it just doesn't seem like there is a world where Justin Jackson is all of a sudden this amazing draft pick. It's like both of them would have to go down, and even then, I don't think he's one good enough, and two doesn't have like the size to really carry a heavy workload. Anyways, they're going to be Joshua Kelly's going to get a fair amount of work to keep Austin Eckler's volume down a little bit, just to keep him healthy, just because he's like a smaller guy. But you don't have that. That's no worry for Austin Eckler, by the way. I mean, the guy just doesn't need 320 touches to produce like RB1 numbers. He's very productive and efficient when he gets the ball in his hands. But yeah, I do think Joshua Kelly is a very interesting pick. He adds a different dimension to those running backs, to that running back backfield. And I kind of want to see how things play out there. Just a flyer pick. Doesn't work out. Might be dropping him anyways. But now you can look at the quarterbacks. We got so many quarterbacks left. Wow. And this is what we're with. So Daniel Jones, he's got his weapons back. The Giants are obviously confident in their weapons at the receiver and tight end position because they didn't really go out and get anybody. But you have a bunch of dudes that were injured last year. You're hoping that Saquon, Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, they can all come back fully healthy. So there are plenty of analysts that are predicting a Daniel Jones breakout season. Don't blame them at all. There's just something about New York, like, I don't know, just like the Giants, I can't envision like a very awesomely productive quarterback there. I think he will have a good season, but it doesn't excite me from a fantasy perspective. I think that Goff and Cam Newton excite me way more because we have obviously the rushing floor with Cam and with Jared Goff. I don't know. You have an offense that looked a lot better in the second half of the season. I think they started to figure it out, and even though they didn't look great last year, I do believe Sean McVay knows what he's doing. I don't think that the second half of last season was a fluke by any means. I think they recognize how bad the offensive line is. They made adjustments in their offensive scheming to adjust for that, and as a result, Jared Goff is much more efficient, and Robert Woods had a much better second half of the year. And to be honest, like, Cooper Kupp didn't play that well, but I'm sure Sean McVay will make plans to allow him to like be just as big of a factor in the offense as previous seasons. So I'm still going to lean Newton. It's just the rushing. They're not going to hold him back like Carolina has in previous seasons. He's fighting for a new contract at this point. All right, no kicker, so we're just drafting the defense and we're good to go. Yeah, this one's taking a while today. All right, and again, just make sure you study that early season strength of schedule. Don't really remember off the top of my head. Oh, look, we can just go off of this. Yeah, why not? New Orleans, who cares? Okay, so that does it. That's our full PPR 12-team mock draft from middle position. Something to always note when you're drafting middle position, you don't always know who's going to come back to you. You always have like 10 to 14 picks or so between your selections. So it's something you have to keep in mind. So you have to really see position availability. If you have like 4 running backs that are like ranked above where your running back is, but only like 1 receiver, but your receiver's at like the top, and there's like a definite tier break, you probably have to take that receiver and hope that the running back comes back to you, etc. It's obviously a little easier when you're drafting at the ends of drafts, but if you do know what you're doing, you put in the time to study, drafting in the middle, it can definitely have its benefits as well. But yeah, that just about does it. We got like a fairly deep running back team here. Got some high-end receivers in Julio and Scary Terry, and love Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver 3, and Deshaun Jackson has plenty of upside, even in a PPR format. He's a big play guy. And yeah, this is a pretty good team. I don't really care what this grade says, but yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the content. Um, like, subscribe, comment, and come back for more videos if you guys want to dominate your fantasy leagues. Sweet, sweet. Have a good one, guys.